And she came from just sort of this like mommy blogger type of thing, which obviously a far more niche down demographic than we have. Like we're talking to business owners.
Hey, I'm Jeremy with Northwest, and we talk a lot about hiring the right people for your team. And today we're joined by Northwest's own Laurel. How do you find someone who's an expert instead of just a day-to-day user, because we're all on social media?
Yeah, I think it ties back to some of the ways we hire in general. It's getting off of the like a resume and a portfolio and some of these standard versions to really figure out how a person moves online, how they talk online, how they engage online, where they're at, what they're doing, and making sure that there's somebody that's passionate about it, somebody that's pliable with it and can just really move the way you want the company to go and make sure that they're talking to the audience in a way that resonates. I hired this woman and she was great. She was very talented. And she came from just sort of this like mommy blogger type of thing, which obviously the mommy blogs in general aren't quite the way they were popping off in 2010s, but that's translated into Instagram and other platforms. And that's what she did. That's how she communicated. That's how her content was. It looked great. It looked like it had clean branding in ways that made everything sort of tie together, which is great.
Okay.
However, when that translated to ours, even if she was using the right blue, somehow like polka dots would show up, or just some of these things that like matched the trends that were happening with baby and mom content that just weren't quite working. Another thing that I think was really relevant there is she was so good at talking to her demographic. So, you know, very much like 25 to 35 moms, right? So women. So that's a far more niche down demographic than we have. Like we're talking to business owners, which is 18 to 80 really. Men, women, you know, everything. So we don't have that kind of like fine-tuned demographic. And I think that that was one of the reasons that it was really hard for her to move on, is that she just was so good at speaking that language and speaking to that particular group. And when we needed it to be a little bit more rounded out and talking to more demographics, it was hard. It was hard for her.
95% of adults worldwide use some form of social media. When you put it in that context, hiring the right person for the job is essential. If you've had success on social media, let us know down in the comments below. Coming up, Laurel's going to explain why traditional interview questions don't work when you're hiring someone for your social media team, and why a subtle shift in that questioning can get you the right person for the job. So Laurel, what advice would you give an entrepreneur who's ready to take that leap and start hiring for social media?
I think more than anything, you want somebody that's adaptable. I think you're looking for somebody that you can communicate with, somebody that you can work alongside, you can grow with, that's going to grow with your company, because at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? And fail with you. The best part is to be able to be in there with them, to be able to support your brand, your business the way you want it to be showing up online. So you got to fail a little bit, you got to grow some, and you, at the end of the day, will find somebody really adaptable.
So then how are you hiring that first person? What are you kind of looking for? How are you getting through the weeds and not getting someone who's just a day-to-day user who talks the talk?
For me, I, of course, look at the actual application. Of course, I'm looking at portfolio still with an eye for detail and paying attention to the way in which they write. Are they using blatant AI? Are they speaking in a way that actually sounds authentic? All of that's very important. If they make it through that sort of rung, I'm going to go find them online the best I can. I'm looking for how they move, where they're at, what they create when they don't have a branding guide to follow or a certain level of microscope there. I'm not looking for things that I think the way that we used to worry about, like whether there's a party photo or certain kinds of language. I don't care about that. I just want to see their authenticity and their passion. So once we get there, if we're actually in the interview, I care a lot about finding out how they actually use social media and knowing that they do, not just for a career, not because it sounds fun, but because they're passionate about it. So I often ask the question, what's your favorite trend this week? I want to know this week. Where are you at this week? And if they even say something like, I don't really use those kinds of platforms anymore, like my biggest platform is XYZ or X, perhaps, that's fine. Like we can talk through that. We can see things. I want to see that authenticity. Another one I've asked is, what's your piece of content that's gone the most viral? And again, like, I don't mind if they get a little like, I don't want to actually show you. That's fine. I just want to see, again, that like sparkle. I want to see that passion, and I want to see that investment into online culture.
I love it. Thank you, Laurel, so much for taking the time today.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching. Any questions? Leave them in the comments below. I have a direct line to Laurel and I can always ask more. Otherwise, hit subscribe. We have more Business Insider content for you coming up.